Guru Sri Juta Padakamalang.
Hare Krishna, welcome to our channel. Bhagavad-gita, here it is, because we have it, Bhagavad-gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and my name is Bhagavad-gita. We're in the 7th chapter, just towards the end. The chapter is called Knowledge of the Absolute. So that is quite a claim, but you know, Krishna is God, so he can make such a claim, and we can be, we can understand how fortunate we are to have access to it. I'm reading text 27, and I'm a little rusty on these lists of verses. Some verses I know, this is one of those verses we learn by heart. This one I'm not sure, but all the words are very familiar, so at least take a look at it. The Sanskrit is like this. Ichhadvesha samuthena dvandvamohena bharata sarvabhutani sammohang sargeyanti parantapa. O sign of Bharata, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities arisen from desire and hate. Ichhadvesha. Purport. The real constitutional position of the living entity is that of subordination to the Supreme Lord, who is pure knowledge. When one is deluded into separation from this pure knowledge, he becomes controlled by the illusory energy and cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The illusory energy is manifested in the duality of desire and hate. Due to desire and hate, the ignorant person wants to become one with the Supreme and envies Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pure devotees who are not deluded or contaminated by desire and hate can understand that Lord Sri Krishna appears by his internal potency, but those who are deluded by duality and nescience think that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is created by material energies. This is their misfortune. So I was actually thinking about this on my way here. Because sometimes when we speak like this, and you hear this kind of words when you're not familiar with the context, it sounds a little harsh. No, bewildered. All living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities. Because we don't feel so deluded, and we don't feel so ignorant. And of course we don't, because we know something. But the knowledge that Krishna is giving us of the spiritual nature will broaden our perspective, will add dimensions. I was thinking about my daughter when she was very young. She always loved to read, but she was very small. She didn't know how to read. So we had these books for children that had pictures, and she would sit down and she would read the pictures because she knew the story, and she would read the pictures and she would enjoy that. And then at one point she learned to read, and suddenly she could read the words in the book as well, and that was like such a revelation. And then for me, I mean, I've been reading the words in the books for a very long time, so I remember observing this, that it's not that before she didn't have any knowledge. She certainly had some knowledge. She could see the pictures and the story, you know, especially in books for little children. The story is pretty much also there in the pictures. But when you get access to the words as well, then a whole new dimensions opens up. And that's also with our reality. Of course we can be intelligent, and of course we can understand things, and we can study things, and we can learn things, and we can create. We look around us and there is so much. There's so much knowledge, and there's so much science, and there's so much everything. So we hear these words, how we're ignorant and delusioned and foolish, and we can feel a little affronted by these concepts. The point is, when we don't have the rest of the knowledge, then our perspective is limited, and Krishna intends to do something about that by putting Bhagavad-gita out in this world, so we can have access to that. And then when we have that access, but we reject it, that is certainly foolish. It's like you come to school and the teachers want to train you in reading and knowing the letters. And of course, it's not always easy and fun, and every teacher is not, gifted in that area. But for a child to say, I already know this. See, I have all the pictures. I don't need your fancy letters. Now that would be very foolish. Because generally children are not foolish. The natural instinct of a child is to always want to learn more and more. But we don't have to, just because we're grown up and we're in a certain conception of the world, we don't need to stagnate. We can actually pick up more knowledge, and especially Krishna would recommend that we pick up the spiritual dimension of existence. And this concept, Ichadvesha, desire and hate, it means some things we really want them, and some things we really want to avoid them. And depending on which side we fall on, we will, our focus, our way of dealing with things will be a little different, because some people go for some things and some people want to create some safety and security. And in spiritual, or rather I'd say in religious matters also, some people want to be pious and gain pious results and have access to more and more enjoyment, and some people want to avoid all the sufferings of this world and want to reject everything material. And so these are the same tendencies, but these tendencies are based on our false ego, and are based on us not actually having realization of our eternal spiritual nature in the eternal spiritual world, in a connection to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So although they are valiant endeavors, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, they are missing something, and that something we will find Krishna will give it to us in the Bhagavad-gita. Such deluded persons symptomatically dwell in dualities of dishonor and honor, misery and happiness, woman and man, good and bad, pleasure and pain, etc., thinking, this is my wife, this is my house, I am the master of this house, I am the husband of this wife. These are the dualities of delusion. Those who are so deluded by dualities are completely foolish and therefore cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So yes, we can look at this world, we can look at existence, at our life from different perspectives, and in many of these perspectives we feel that we have made some progress, we have gotten somewhere, we have achieved something. But now we are trying to take Krishna's perspective. Of course we can't take Krishna's perspective, because he's in everybody's heart, he's outside this world and he's inside it as well, everything comes from him. In that way we can't take Krishna's perspective. But here, when he's giving this knowledge, then from Krishna's point of view, the spiritual world is there, it is eternal, we all have a place there. It is quite, wonderful. It is not like heaven, because heaven, according to the Vedas, is considered a material dimension, planets in this universe that are heavenly, that are beyond this existence, but still under the laws of material nature. Spiritual universe, spiritual world, spiritual planets, Krishna's spiritual abode, there is no tinge of this material energy. There is no birth, death, old age and disease. Nothing is temporary. There is no ignorance. There is no suffering at all. And it is also not boring, because it is dynamic. It is there are relationships, there are activities and desires and so on. So when we lose that perspective, it's like if we woke up in the morning and we couldn't read books anymore, we could just look at the pictures and we would think, oh, we're so good, we have all these nice pictures. It's a very limited example that I got stuck on here, but we're in this world and we're limited by our senses. We're limited by time. We're limited by this body. And this situation is not natural to us because we are by nature spiritual. And we have access to that existence. But we have to want it. And we have to kind of gain a little bit of faith. Not an unrealistic or blind faith, but a little bit of faith. We all have that sense that to be suffering is unnatural, to die is unnatural, because the soul doesn't really have those problems. In this world, we adopt that identification with this body, and as soon as we do that, we find these dualities. This is good, this is bad, this is me, this is you. Of course, we stay individuals forever. But in the spiritual world, there is no conflict, because every individual in the spiritual world is always having Krishna in the center, and therefore all the relationship between us become very harmonious because we have the same goal. And in that situation, we are fully satisfied. And that's also a thing, you can just say it, and if you have no experience of it, it doesn't really make sense. And we have a little play that they used to put up on the Sunday feast about a fish out of water. This fish somehow or other ends up outside the sea, and there this fish is trying things out, trying to enjoy the things you do on land, trying to get a job, trying to get a wife, trying to enjoy so many things. But as long as this fish is out of water, he can't breathe and he can't survive and he can't be happy. So when we step outside of the spiritual atmosphere, it is foreign to us, it is unnatural to us, but we've been here for a very long time, and by coming here we immediately identify with this body, we immediately identify with these senses, and we start to channel our desires and our activities into this realm of duality, of matter, and we get very entangled, and it gets very difficult to change the perspective. So Krishna here, he kind of wakes us up. Says, this is very foolish, this is very unintelligent. And really, whatever we have that is, how to say, advanced, intelligent, inspiring in so many ways, it lacks such a huge part of reality and existence. So it's so limited. So therefore we listen to Krishna in the Bhagavad-gita, we pick up this process, and we continue to develop more and more this spiritual perspective, this spiritual realization of existence in that place, free from duality, free from suffering and ignorance, and always in connection with the Supreme. So that's what we're trying to take from Bhagavad-gita at this point. We will continue. Hopefully we can get the whole Bhagavad-gita recorded and on online in this way. I put all the previous chapters as playlists in the little box beneath, some links for finding temples, finding Bhagavad-gitas and so on. And if there are any questions, I would be delighted to find them in the comment field there, and I'll come back and answer them. Thanks so much, Hare Krishna.
Thank you for watching. We aim for updates every Tuesday and Friday. Please come back. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down there. We also have some links and information for you. And there is, of course, the subscribe button. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I'm a Hare Krishna, and I approve this message. Subscribe.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare